Baldr slumped into his chair as he waited for messengers to return with more news. He took in the happenings of the Chieftains' Hall. It was a large hall that he had built once the palisade was made. Right now it's full of men eating and sleeping between guard shifts, while others prepared for the upcoming war. Welcome to part 5 of building my fantasy world of Frostholm. This episode I am taking a look at a very important central building in the village of IcePoint, Baldr's Chieftains' Hall. Now for this hall I took a lot of inspiration from great Viking halls. One quick thing before I dive into the hall, watch till the end because I made my first monster and I need your guys' help with it. The roof is in the same style as the last two, with the base being tan with dark tan and white covering parts of it. I tried to make it look like snow was falling off the roof in a bunch of different places. Like even on the ends I added in snow buildup. The roof is made out of 2 big panels for each side. There are just a couple of bricks on the inside of it that just rest on the wall. This is a style that I learned from the Lego Ideas blacksmith shop. Viking halls didn't have chimneys. Instead, they had a hole in the roof for smoke to exit through. So I replicated that in this build. Removing the panels allows you to see the interior and the structure of the hall. Once Baldr had built a palisade and stopped sea raiders from attacking the village, he tore down the old chieftain's hall that had been falling apart, and in its place built a great hall for him and his men to dine and sleep in. For the front of the hall, I have some palisade bricks and then a Snow Guardian shield on either side of the door. I also add some parts above the door just to add some decoration and depth. I may change this later on, I just didn't want the front of the building to be flat. The sides of the buildings have these pillars that are attached with snot bricks. I'm honestly really happy how these came out because I think it just adds a great shape to the hall and just adds some more depth. When I build buildings, a lot of times what happens is I just have a flat wall with just like a solid color. And in a way there's nothing wrong with that, it just doesn't look great. So I feel like these pillars just added a lot to this hall. To fix the solid color issue, I took some inspiration from the Viking Village. In the Chieftain's Hall from that set, they do a snot brick and then stack some plates sideways. So for Baldr's Hall, I did that in 4 sections, with brown, and dark tan plates. For the remaining spots on the side walls, I put in windows that have snow buildup above them. The last wall is the back wall. For the bottom of it, I did palisade bricks and the top is normal bricks. I also did the same technique as I did for some of the side walls, except a lot taller. Now something I like about building with just a box of colors is I just start messing around with parts and stuff happens. So originally I was just going to add in a few pillars, but on top of that I added in some more parts just to give more depth. Now something I was really happy with when building this is I made a full interior to it. Baldr had many feasts in this hall during peaceful times. It is a place where he meets chieftains and plans battles. He spared no expense when making it because he wanted it to be the centerpiece of the village. It was also in this hall that he first laid eyes on his wife. Now the Lego version is not as big as the lore version would be. There isn't a sleeping area because I just didn't have space. This kind of goes for a lot of things in the village. I can't make everything as big as I imagine it in my lore, but I still stuffed the inside of the hall with many things. I ripped off one wall just to show the interior better. On both walls I added shields and torches, just to give some decorations and make the inside come to life. Right inside the door is a pile of wood and a crate. Then there's a stone fireplace which has meat cooking over it. The fireplace sits directly below the smoke hole. Next to the fire pit is 2 tables filled with food and drink. I also had some benches so Baldr's men can feast with him. On the back wall are 2 weapons racks filled with spears, swords, and axes. In between the weapons racks is Baldr's chair, where he sits during feasts and important business. In the hall I also placed a few animals just to add some more life. Even though the inside is kind of basic, I feel like it's full of life and I'm really happy how it came out. The hall sits in the center of the village. I set up the road system so half of it was on this plate and another half was on a different plate. So far I really haven't decorated the right side of this plate too much because I haven't really decided what I'm going to put there yet. There are actually a lot of updates I made to the town, but those I'm going to talk about in a future video. So don't forget to like and subscribe to see those. One update to Frostholm I will talk about though is the second creature I created. Even though I've already created lore around it, I'm only going to show it here. I want your help naming it, so let me know in the comments what the name of it should be, and please try to be as creative as possible. When I talk about its lore, I will reveal my favorite name. While Baldr watched one of his men devour a chicken leg, the leader of his rangers approached. Sven, I want you to take a squad of rangers out and find out the movements of the witch. She has been a step ahead of us this entire time. It's time for us to be 5 steps ahead of her.